While working in AutoCAD, there are many things that you need to be aware of. Now, the status bar, which is here on the bottom right-hand side, will help you with that. Now, the status bar is a sort of billboard displaying different information. It's located here in the bottom of your screen, and it stretches throughout most of your screen. Now, the status bar visually informs you of which settings are on or off. And it also gives you easy access to control those settings of these different functions. First, here on the left, you're going to see the toggle for model space or paper space. If you click it, it'll take you to one or the other. Next, you'll see icons for the grid mode. Now remember, if a setting is on, it's going to be highlighted blue like this. If it's off, it'll be highlighted gray like this one. And if you don't know what a setting is for, just put your mouse over the top of it and you'll get a little pop-up. And it'll tell you, like right here, this is the display drawing grid. That's this grid that you see here in the drawing area. If I left click on it, it'll toggle it off. It'll show you here in the command line that the grid has been turned off. Plus, you can see for yourself. So you'll notice that it's gray. When I hover over it, it tells me that it's off. If I click it, it's back on. If I move my mouse away and back over it, it tells me that it's on. So that's the status bar. That's what it will do. Now, there are a lot of different commands and controls that you have here. This is for the snap mode, which is off or on. This little arrow here allows me to switch between some of those settings, between a grid snap or a polar snap. Or I can get to the snap settings. If I click on that, my window will pop up and I can get to all of my snap and grid settings right here. Also, if I right click on there, I can get to my grid settings. So if I right click over one of these status bar icons, it will get me to the settings for that specific function or toggle switch settings. This is my ortho command. Again, if I click it off or on, the ortho command will force you to draw in perpendicular lines. So right now I can draw a line at any angle, as you can see here. But if I toggle this on, it locks me into drawing only horizontal or vertical lines. Now, some of these toggle switches here in the status bar have a button on the keyboard that you can press. For example, the grid is F7, and that shows you right in the bottom there. It's kind of lighter, it's harder to see, but the grid mode is controlled by pressing the F7. So I don't have to click down here. I don't have to move my mouse any. I can just press the F7 button like I'm doing now, and that'll toggle that off and on. Same thing with the snap mode controls or the ortho or any of these others. It'll show you. This is polar tracking. This is the isometric. And I can get to my different types of planes. This is my O snaps. These are my different controls for my O snaps. I can turn on my running O snaps, which we'll talk about in a different section. And then this middle part here has to do with the annotated scaling. This will tell me that I'm showing it. This will automatically assign annotated scaling, and annotated scaling goes with text and dimensions, things like that, where it will automatically scale the size of the text to a set paper size, meaning that when you print out the drawing, the text is going to be at a 1/4 inch or an 1/8 of an inch, whatever it is that you set it to, regardless of the scale of your viewport or the view that you've drawn in. And this button here controls the certain drawing scale of your view at that time. This is your workspace controls. If you click on it here, it will show you which workspace you're in, and it gives you access to your settings and controls for your workspaces. This annotation monitor toggles off or on. This here is your isolate objects. If some of your objects are hidden, let's isolate some objects. For example, let's click that one. So that means I'm isolating it. All the others are turned off. If you see that this is on, that means, hey, there are objects in your drawings that you're not seeing, so be aware of that. So I can click on it again and click on the End Object Isolation mode. This button here is for hardware acceleration. Right now I have that turned on. And that's just inside software that helps your machine run better when it's using AutoCAD. Sometimes it's weird. It can actually get in the way. If your machine is running a little slow or seems sluggish, turn it off. Just click on it just like you do the rest of the status bar items, and it will open it up. If you right click on it, it'll get to your graphics performance options, and this is where you turn it off or turn it on. I'm going to keep mine on for now. Down here is your clean screen. What the clean screen button does is it turns off all of your toolbars, your ribbons, everything that you have so that you get as much drawing space on your screen as possible. When you're done, you just click the button again and it will put it back to the way it was. Or you can press Control and 0 at the same time to toggle that off and on. Now you might not see the exact same icons as I have shown here on my screen. And that's because you can customize which icons are shown and which aren't. On the far right here is the customization button. If I left click on it, you'll see a list here of all of the different status bar icons that I can turn on. One that I like to have is the coordinates. Left click on it and you'll see the check mark is added to it. And when it does, it automatically puts my coordinates window down here. You'll also notice that all of these other items that I have, if there's a check mark by it, that means it's being shown. If there is no check mark, then it won't show up. I also like to have the dynamic UCS turned on, and sometimes line weight. You can do whatever you want. When you're finished, just left click somewhere out of there. See, I like the coordinates because it tells me where I'm at. So you can see the status bar is very useful. It takes up some room on the screen, absolutely, but it's very important, especially when you start working with your grid, different orthogonic projections, isoplanes, when your O-snaps are on or off. It tells you what's going on, and it can really help you out while you're working in your file. So find the right settings that you want through the customization options, turn them on, and then turn off the ones you don't use. That way you will have less to have to look at and sift through when you're trying to get information very quickly, because that's the point of the status bar.